Welcome back to the backyard. I am the Brisketmedic, and I've got something very special for you today. Earlier this week, I saw that Chuds Barbecue and Cooking Cop and Babe, well, just Josh, Babe wasn't there, did some Korean barbecue, and I found a roast in the fridge that I really need to get cooked up. So I thought, man, how can I combine Korean flavors with this roast and make something that I love the most? Kind of rhyme. So we're making beef Korean street tacos. Sorry about the dog. Let's get into it. So first things first, before we make anything else, we need to start on our delicious pickled onions. Now, in order to do this, what I did was sliced finely a red onion and placed them into the mason jar. And I like to shake them up when I put them in the jar to kind of break them apart. And I added to that 3/4 cup water, 3/4 cup of vinegar, and then 2 heaping tablespoons of Uncle Steve's sweet and spicier. Now, that liquid and that sweet and spicier I actually put in a pot, and I brought it up to a simmer for about 10 minutes before I added it to this jar. It's important that you seal this jar very well and let it set until it gets to room temperature for about 30-45 minutes so that these onions will be pickled. Generally with Korean barbecue, they start with some short ribs or something like that, cut small, but that's not what we have, and so that's not what we're using. Beefy. All right, now we've got it all trimmed up, and you can see that there are some the striations or the direction of the meat does go this way. So our initial cut to slice these is going to be right here. Now we're not going to be slicing it with the grain. I do want to slice it against the grain, but I want to make sure that our slices are not too big because we are going to be marinating these, and it's going to be a pretty quick marinade. So I'm actually going to cut this on the bias because I want these to be some thinner, bigger pieces. And because it is this kind of a roast, we're going to cut it against the grain like that because we really want it to accept that marinade and be tender. Because generally a roast like this, you need to cook slow and low for a long time for those collagens to really break down and get tender. So I'm going to slice these up, and I'll bring you back and show you how we're going to be doing our marinade. Very well, we've got our roast cut up into pieces, and now we're going to start making our marinade. These are very thin pieces, and we're going to be using something pretty powerful in our marinade, and that's going to be soy sauce. So this marinade isn't going to take but maybe 30 minutes, and all we're going to be adding to that marinade is some of these spring onions, green onions, whatever you want to call them. And I'm just going to take one stalk and dice it up. You know, not too small, not too big. We just want to get some aromatics into that soy sauce, a little bit of kick of flavor, all that good stuff, okay? We're going to get that in there, and then I'm going to throw a heaping tablespoon of Uncle Steve's sweet and spicy. Sweet and spicy is a really good blend of flavors that has some really good base flavors to it, like garlic and things like that. That lend really well to this combination of flavor that we're going after here with this Korean barbecue inspired taco. All right, and that's it. Super simple, easy resume marinade. But the thing is, this marinade is very effective as well. So we're going to get this closed up, get as much air out of the bag as we can. That vacuum seal almost is going to help that marinade penetrate. Yes, penetrate deeply into our meat. Mix it up really, really well. Okay. And then get it thrown into the fridge. We're going to let that sit for about 30 minutes. All right, folks, while the Weber's getting nice and fired up, we can go ahead and start on our gochujang sauce, our Korean barbecue style sauce. And in here I've got 2 spring onions or green onions chopped in my saucepan. And to that we're going to add roughly 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. That's about 2 teaspoons. Sorry, not tablespoons, teaspoons. And then to that, we're also going to add 2 teaspoons of garlic. I'm going to throw just a hair extra in because I think it's absolutely delicious. I love me some garlic. And then we're going to add about a tablespoon of Uncle Steve shake because everybody loves Uncle Steve. And then to this we're going to add 2 teaspoons roughly of some sesame oil, and this is going to really bring out some great flavors in this sauce. So roughly 2 teaspoons, so it's about 1 and 2. All right, 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, and then of course we're going to hit it with 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to hit it with our delicious gochujang Korean chili sauce. Now this is a very concentrated chili sauce. It's fermented. It smells so good. So we're actually going to be using 3 tablespoons of that. So there's 1, 2, 3. And we're going to thin this out with a couple of tablespoons, excuse me, of some ACV. Now this ACV is also going to give it some a little bit of the fruity sweetness, and so will that Uncle Steve. So we're going to get this mixed up really well, and I'm going to put it in a blender and make it into an actual sauce. Alright guys, these have been sitting in the fridge marinating for about 30 minutes. Our fire is rocking and rolling, and now we're going to do something that is just absolutely awesome and fun to do, especially in the spring or a warm summer night, is sit outside and do a little grilling on the Weber kettle. I like to hear that sizzle as soon as I throw this meat over the coals. Remember, we're cooking these hot and fast because this meat definitely needs to be cooked all the way through, just because of the collagens that need to break down, because this is kind of a tougher meat that's usually needed to cook low and slow. We could cook something a little more medium rare, say if it was a strip steak or something like that, a little more medium, but because we are cooking a roast, we really need to cook it all the way through, just for chewiness sake. So we're going to get these on here. I'm going to do the just keep flipping method, and we're going to cook them until they're all the way done, and I'll see you then. Then we'll put together our tacos. Okay. Alright, so we got our tortillas nice and warm. I went ahead and chopped some more of those spring onions. I've got my sesame seeds. I've got that beautiful sauce blended up and up a little past room temperature. Not hot, but you don't want to put cold sauce on this. And then we've got our amazing pickled red onions. Oh yeah, that smells good. Alright, let's go ahead and get these built. I'm going to go ahead and cut a few of these pieces, and we'll see how good this is. I know it's going to be awesome. Cuts beautifully. I was afraid of this roast being chewy, but that's kind of why I wanted to slice it a little thinner, but also cook it hot and fast, and kind of cook it past where I normally would, so that those connective tissues have a chance to break down and not be so tough. I've also got some limes here. I know this is going to be really well benefited from a little bit of that acid. Now we're going to get some of that from our onions, but I think those limes will add a delicious flavor, especially that kind of that street taco theme that we're going with here. So, man, load it up. You don't want to skimp on meat. I don't want to bite into a taco and it be all tortilla, but let's go ahead and try a bite. Meat alone, just marinated and grilled over B&B. So good. So good. All right, we're gonna hit it with some of our homemade sauce. Just a little bit to top it off with. Beautiful. Couple of drops of that. It's about a quarter of a lime, not a ton. Let's hit it with a couple of these chives, green onions, spring onions, and a little sesame seed. Oh yeah, that looks outstanding. Let's go ahead and get a bite of this amazing taco. I almost forgot to put some of my homemade pickled red onions on there. I think this is all going to go together really, really well, especially that sauce, that fermented chili sauce. All right, salud. I taste Texas in there. I taste Mexico in there. I taste Korea in there. God, this is good. Korean style street tacos. That sauce we made has a really good punch of flavor. That's why I just drizzled it on it. Traditionally, they'd make a sauce and kind of coat the meat to glaze it. I think this punch of flavor is really really too strong for doing that. So we just drizzled it over the top of the taco, added some lime juice and some pickled red onions. My friends, this is winner Korean Texas street taco barbecue dinner. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that right now. Hit that like button, and that always helps us be able to provide you with something great in the future. We love you guys. Drink more water, get outside, cook something. Don't be afraid to mix up a bunch of flavors.